Hi, my name is Meredith Brown. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I have been asked to do a short little overview of burnout and what it is and ways that you can potentially avoid. Now, anyone that knows me knows that nothing I do really is done quickly or short, but I will try my best to keep it in a good time frame for you. So first of all, burnout. What is burnout? Well, burnout is defined, first person to use a term in a burnout book describing professional exhaustion was Herbert Funderburger. Our definition that we're going to use is overutilization of personal resources without replenishment. The reason why I use this definition is because it seems to bring together kind of all of the research that I found. It talks about burnout can come from being overworked, burnout can come from not having any creative outlets, burnout can come from having not enough time, the perception of not enough time. So I think that overutilization of personal resources without replenishment really does kind of cover all of those aspects of what burnout is. Also, burnout has a certain subjectivity to it. It's not just, I can feel burnt out doing the exact same thing that someone else is doing. And it has a lot to do with resilience, coping skills, perception of value of what you're doing. There's a lot of things that contribute to burnout, which make it very subjective. So you can't say, I don't know why I'm feeling burnt out, so and so isn't, because it's subjective. You've got to really look inwards towards yourself. So what causes burnout? Well, there's a lot of causes of burnout. If you pull up, you just Google burnout, you'll get like 8 million, well, more than that probably, different hits and different ideas of what burnout is, depending upon what they want to tell you. So, but burnout, I've kind of narrowed it down to lack of support, insufficient reward, workload, work-life imbalance, lack of control, what this car picture is for. Boom, kind of like that, feeling like, okay, I got this, and then I don't have it, or not being able to set your own schedule, that kind of thing. Then we have low self-efficacy, a mismatch in values, a lack of fairness, or a perception of lack of fairness, attitudes of others, and this is where you get you got the bad attitude. A lot of times people coming to us all the time can bring us down. And then also guilt or personalization, personalizing things, taking on guilt when it really isn't yours to take on. So what are some of the symptoms of burnout? So some of the symptoms of burnout, your physical, your psychological, and your behavioral. And I broke it down into these three types because sometimes you cannot know you're really burnt out because you're not having what you, so I don't hate my job, I don't hate what I do, but you can still need a break or need to kind of make some boundaries, even if you love what you do. So the physical are things like headaches, muscle tension, digestive trouble, fatigue, change in sleep, colds or sickness. Psychological are things like sadness, self-doubt, being cynical, being very cynical, lack of motivation, feeling alone, and perhaps even aggression, psychological aggression, where you're saying things in your head that are aggressive towards yourself, or maybe even others, like, I wish that person would just like trip over a rock. But I want to get back to the cynical though. Cynical isn't the same as sarcasm. Sarcasm sometimes can be a release or a relief when it comes to, it can be a coping mechanism. So don't, if you're like going, oh wait, but I'm sarcastic sometimes, don't jump on yourself right now, because cynical is a little bit different than sarcastic. Cynical takes it down to kind of another level of negativity. And then behavioral, you have isolation, procrastinating, which I'm a big procrastinator, but procrastinating, being out of work a good bit, displacement, feeling like you don't really belong, self-medicating. I'm not taking anybody's wine away, but self-medicating, you got to ask yourself, why am I having this glass of wine? Why am I having 2 glasses of wine? If it's to avoid thinking about things, you might want to check that. And then aggression, being behaviorally aggressive towards others. So let's talk about what everyone wants to actually know. How do you avoid the burnout then? Seems kind of hard. to avoid the burnout, but as this picture would show. But let's try to look at some things. First one is seek or ask for help. We find that people that have higher self-efficacy, meaning they believe in what they can do, they believe they're capable of doing something, they're more likely to ask for help because they feel like if they ask for help and they get the help, then they will, they're not wasting someone's time. So evaluate kind of, I know I can do this, I'm just going to need a little bit of help, but seeking that help can help with burnout. Also seeking help when there's a project or something and being specific about that help. I'm working on these, like for example, with me, I'm working on a whole lot of presentations. And one thing I said was I sent 4 presentations to a friend and I said, listen, you do not have to do this, no pressure, but if you can help me, can you just kind of skim through them and see if you see any major mistakes? And she was like, yeah, sure. So she skimmed through them, she sent them back an hour later, said, don't see any major mistakes. And then I sent separately one to each person separately saying, hey, can you do a deep dive into these and really see if there's any grammatical errors, centering, things like that? And they were like, yeah, sure, love to help you out. I didn't send all 4 to the one person to say, could you, check all of these carefully. But the reason I did that is because I know I'm not that great with catching my own errors. So it's very helpful to have somebody kind of check that out for me. So seeking for help. Next is being kind to yourself. It's really hard to be happy when someone is mean to you all the time. So if you're being mean to yourself, and the way I really like to push this out there is, how many times have you done something like you drop something and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. But how many times do you say, wow, I haven't dropped this all day, I'm so awesome? Rarely, right? We are so mean to ourselves when we do something wrong, but we're not praising ourselves all day, which is kind of funny that we won't say great job to ourselves all day long, but we do one thing wrong and it's like, you're so dumb. So, but be kind to yourself. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Give yourself a pat on the back if you need it. I don't know if you can see it, but because I have this roller coaster up behind me to show how life's kind of a roller coaster. But in my house, when you first walk in my door, there's a handprint that's there, and it's for everyone who comes in to give themselves a pat on the back or a high five. So they can just like back up against it or slap it with their hand. So there you go. If no one else gives you a high five, give one to yourself. All right, next is being in the moment of mindfulness. Now, the gift, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. I love this. I don't know who said it. I tried to look it up. A few Zen people, masters were quoted by it. Gandhi was quoted by it, but they don't really actually know who said it. But it was said in Kung Fu Panda. So there's that. So, but I don't know who the actual person to attribute it to would be. So with being mindful and having mindfulness, I have this really awesome website here. This is a free course you can actually take. The free course you can actually take. It's got how to be mindful and trains you on mindfulness. It's pretty amazing. So now it's intense as well. It's not just like a, pop in and watch a video and suddenly you're a mindfulness master, but it is pretty awesome with regards to if you really want to follow through. And there are little things you can do in it. And if you follow through the whole course, you can get certified in mindfulness. So that's pretty cool. But it's intense. All right. So the to-do list. I like to-do lists. I have a to-do list. I keep a to-do list. But one thing about to-do lists that I started noticing is the to-do list that I have on my phone, it goes away. Like the things go away as I do them. So I'm sitting there going, it doesn't look like I did anything. So instead of a to-do list, only a to-do list, I also have an I did list. So that way, because remember the old list used to scratch off and you could see what you did for the day. So instead of getting rid of something, I just change its color. So like if I have a list on my phone of things to do, I will change the color of the item that I finished from like blue to red. And then I know, hey, listen, look what I've accomplished for the day. And that'll help you with burnout, to be able to reflect and say, look, I've accomplished a lot today. I can put it down. I can come back to other things tomorrow. All right. Also with burnout, saying yes to everything. So why do we say yes to everything? Well, I mean, think about it. We've kind of been trained to do it, right? Since we were little, don't say no to the adults. Don't say no to your mother. Don't say no. Don't say no to your mother. Don't say no to your father. Don't say no to your authority figures. But there's a huge misconception there. Saying no, it's not selfish. It actually increases your generosity. Okay. Saying no doesn't hurt your relationships. It actually strengthens them. And then every yes is a no to something else. So there's a book, it's called The Art of Saying No, and I have it right here for you to check it out. And also there's a link there for a YouTube video if you just kind of want to watch what he's going to say. It goes into a lot more detail of the art of saying no. Excuse me, the art of saying no. You should check that out. It's pretty awesome. They talk about it in the book, like, for example, the saying no doesn't hurt relationships, it strengthens them. Part of that, if you think about that, people say if you say no to somebody, they're going to get their feelings hurt. But if you say yes to everyone, you're just that person who says yes to everybody. But if you have said no on occasion, like, no, I'm sorry, I have, other things that's going on, blah, 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 I can't help you right now, then you're showing my time has value. And then when you can say yes, it's like you're valuing that person, or excuse me, you're valuing your time and you're willing to give it to that person. So it actually can strengthen your relationships. So saying no is not selfish. It increases your generosity. And the book talks about, like, in the morning when you first get up, when you start giving to everyone else, okay, let me do my emails, let me give to this person, let me give to that person. Then by the midday, you don't feel very generous anymore. You're like, oh, I'm burnt out. But if you do something for yourself in the morning, if you say, no, I'm not going to start that, I'm going to do something for myself, that also ties into every yes is a no to something else. When you say yes to someone to do something, you're saying no to something else, maybe time with your family, or maybe that walk you were going to take on your lunch break. So this book really helps me tremendously with burnout and learning kind of how to say no. It teaches you kind of the ways to say no. You can create a categorical no. That's I don't, like, one of my categorical no's are I don't do presentations on during the weekdays anymore, like Monday through Friday. I don't do presentations. Well, Monday through Thursday, I don't do presentations because it got too hectic for me. I would try to, get to somewhere at 5 o'clock and then get here. And so now I say, I don't do presentations Monday through Thursday, but I do Fridays and Saturdays. Referencing a commitment, I'm going to need to say no to that project because I'm already doing this project. And a great example of that was I was asked to do a project for someone, and I said, I would really love to work on this project with you. And I will be happy to give you some ideas and talk with you a little bit about it, but I'm not going to be able to commit to it because I'm already working on an OER, creating some OER courses. And so I don't have the time commitment to give to you. But I am going into counter offer. However, if you want to get some ideas and just do some brainstorming with me, I'd love to have coffee and just chat about it for like an hour. And then you're giving a counter offer. So you're not saying no, as in I absolutely don't care. It's not a don't care. It's not putting more on your plate. So I would highly suggest this book if you're someone who has a hard time saying no, or you're somebody who says no and then you feel bad about it. This book will also help you see why you should not feel guilty about something. All right, so perfection. Perfection is a roadblock to progress. If I started this video over every single time I messed up, like I just sneezed a second ago, now that's not saying this is the third time I'm recording it. It is, I'm just going to be honest. But if I started it over every single time I had some sort of little hiccup, it would never get finished. It would never get finished. So perfection is a roadblock to progress. So sometimes you need to just put it out there. I have a book that I've written, and my friend is just jumping all over me. She's like, you put it out there. I'm like, but I gotta add this. We need to put it out there. I gotta add this. And I really should just put it out there, but I want it to be perfect. So it's a roadblock to progress. So now for certain things, they need to be perfect. I really want the calculations for the spaceship to shoot up into the atmosphere. I need those to be perfect. I need those numbers to be perfect. But a lot of other things we can move forward without things being perfect. Get it out there. Avoid catching the negative bug. This is a huge burnout situation. It's not so much that you feel burnout, but that people around you are feeling that way. And so they start to kind of bring it into you. And one thing with that is it's not ghosting, it's not ignoring, it's not what is that, gaslighting the person saying, oh, I don't know why you're upset, I love it here. I mean, it's not like that. It's more so I'm feeling very positive about my life. I'm trying to feel very positive about my life. I'm watering the grass that I'm in, trying to keep it green. You're welcome to hang out with me. Don't poop on my lawn. Like, let's keep it nice. Let's keep it good. I will listen to what you have to say, but nobody comes to talk to me ever unless they do understand that I am going to put a positive spin on about 90% of what they say. So if someone is just coming to complain, they don't usually come talk to me for very long, but they will come talk to me about issues or things, and because I'm going to come back and talk to them. But there are some things I've had to learn to do with the negative bug, because you can never win an argument with a negative person. They only want to hear what suits them, and they only listen to respond. So, and you'll notice that sometimes they'll be nodding while you're talking. Well, I just don't think, and it's like, did you hear anything? So one thing you can do is you can walk away. It's kind of the, oh, I just got a text. I need to respond to this. It's been really good talking to you, and then walking away. You can validate the person. I hear what you're saying. You sound very frustrated. I'd love to talk with you about this more, but maybe we should do it in a different venue, like over coffee or something. Or I'd love to talk to you about this more, but I'm working on something. So validating it, saying, wow, that's, but then giving a reason why you can't continue talking. Don't feed it. So if you don't agree with somebody, it's okay. If someone comes in and says, I absolutely dislike ABC, and you're like thinking, I kind of like ABC, like you can be honest and say, well, I kind of have a different spin on ABC. I kind of like ABC. But I can understand maybe why you wouldn't like it. Oh, did I get a chance to tell you about my my little one? Like, guess what she did at school? And I'll flip the topic, like I'll disagree so they know I don't completely agree with this negativity, but I don't want to not validate you, and I don't want to not let you know that I understand that you're frustrated, but I also don't want to talk about it because it's going to bring me down. It's going to make me frustrated. Especially I'm in a situation where this is my home for the next long time. The house that I'm living in now has a lot of issues. People say, oh, I don't know how you can live in that area, or I don't know how you can handle that. And I'm like, oh, well, we've got a lot of positive things. It's like, but don't feed it. Like, change the topic. If somebody comes in with something super negative, take a moment, validate. Wow, you sound super frustrated. And I'd love to talk about this more, but I'm in the middle of working on a project. But before you leave, real quick, how did such and such go? Or real quick, how is such and such, how is so-and-so doing? Like, try to get them onto a positive conversation. Or, like I said, walk away or move around it. All right, so avoid becoming stagnant and keep growing. So many people will say, I'm burnout, I can't do anything else. Here's the funny thing about that. Sometimes you may feel very burnt out because you're not doing enough. It's that whole thing that parents will say, my kid's perfect. My kid's perfect, they're just bored. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes the kid is bored. They're able to do everything they're doing, and they're becoming stagnant. They're not being innovative. They're bored. And so think about you. If you start becoming bored and you feel stagnant, that's when burnout starts to creep in, because you're not challenging yourself and you're feeling kind of like, oh, I'm stamping this thing all day long. That's what I'm doing. And it's not giving me any kind of intrinsic value. And so you want to push yourself to say, okay, maybe I'm feeling burnout because I'm stagnant. So, and again, it's subjective. You have to look at it and say, what is it about this? What is it about me? So it is very subjective. Remember that. All right. Next is change self-defeating thoughts. So this is not an easy one. And it's not one I could just throw out there and be like, here you go, I'm gonna talk 30 seconds about this one. But that's exactly what I'm gonna try to do. So changing self-defeating thoughts. So there's 9 types of negative thoughts that will steal your joy. One of them is all or nothing thinking. If I can't have a whole slice of chocolate cake, then I just don't want the cake at all. I mean, no, that's not a bad one. But instead, have a little smaller piece, it's okay. Or if I can't get that exact part in that play, I don't want to be in the play at all. And sometimes you may want to be that way because it's not worth your time if you can't have a role you'll enjoy. But all or nothing thinking, it's very dichotomous thinking. It has to be this way. It can't be at all this way. So that all or nothing thinking can sometimes be very negative and steal joy. Always thinking, always having something going on in your mind. What's happening here? What's happening there? What's happening here? Need a moment to slow it down. I today actually walked with my eyes closed and my finger on a wall. And I knew it was a straight shot, but I just kind of walked with my eyes closed and my finger on the wall, taking deep breaths while I was walking. And I wasn't thinking of anything except one foot in front of the other because my eyes were closed. And I was just kind of taking some deep breaths, and then I opened my eyes up, and because somebody said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm just I'm just not thinking and just focusing on walking." And they're like, "Okay." And I stopped and smelled the roses when I walked by the rose bush. And somebody said, "Wow, you literally stopped and smelled the roses." I was like, "I did." Try to not focus on the negative. So like I said before, you drop something or you come in late to work one day. Oh, I can't believe I'm late to work. I'm gonna get in so much trouble if I'm late to work. Think about the last 40 times you weren't late to work. Thinking with your feelings. Now this one is this one is one you kind of have to throw out there. You need more explaining. But thinking with your feelings is kind of if you're feeling sad, letting that sadness be kind of like a filtration, like your lens for the day. So it becomes kind of if you're feeling angry or you're feeling frustrated, it becomes your lens for the day. So everything that goes on suddenly has like a film of frustration or a film of sadness on it. So guilt feeding, this is saying taking things on that's your fault. Oh, this my daughter, for example, she said this yesterday. She said, "You're making me feel guilty." And I'm like, "Okay, whoa, stop. I asked you, will you do this for me? You said no. I said okay." She was like, "Yeah." And so I feel guilty. And I'm like, "But why?" She said, "Because I said no." And I'm like, "But you're allowed to say no. You're a 22-year-old woman. You're allowed to say no." She was like, "But you need help." And I'm like, "No, I do need help, but I can find it somewhere else. And it's okay if you have something to do." And she's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes." Like, all right. So the guilt feeding, labeling, again, things like calling yourself stupid. This was dumb. I'll never get this done. Fortune telling, that's waking up in the morning and saying, "Oh, today is going to be a horrible day." How do you know? How do you know? How do you know it's going to be a horrible day? It might be a great day, right? So we wake up in the morning and go, "Today is going to be a marvelous day." No, most of the time we wake up going, "Ah, it's going to be a crappy day," or "It's going to be a yucky day." So don't fortune tell. Or they're not going to like me, or I'm not going to do a good job, or my video stuff's not going to work. Try not to fortune tell. Mind reading. We don't know what other people are thinking. We really don't. And this one comes across a lot of times with me because someone will be talking to me and I'll be like, and they'll say, "What is that face for?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else." And I'm like, it's nothing to do with you, like nothing to do with you. So we can't read other people's minds. We can't assume to know what they're thinking or what they're feeling. Oh, they're angry with me. You don't know that. Okay. Taking blame. I realized that I wasn't able to help with that project, and I know it's my fault it failed. I mean, not necessarily, like, don't necessarily decide that you're going to try to take the blame or be the blame or to help someone else out by taking the blame for something. Now, there's obviously times where it is someone's fault. There's times where it is my fault, but that's natural to be able to say, "Ooh, this was my fault. Sorry about that. Let me fix it. Let me correct it." Versus blaming myself. So, oh, it's totally my fault that this failed. When in actuality, pull back from that and you can see lots of factors that took place there. And the biggest one is shoulding. Stop shoulding on yourself. And I say this to people all the time. This is an Albert Ellis thing from rationally motivated behavioral therapy. To should on yourself. The one thing that will keep you up all night long is saying things like, I should have done this, or I should have done that. Should have, need to, or didn't do. Those are the three things that keep you up at night. I should have done this, I need to do this, I didn't do that. Those will keep you up. Okay. So try not to should on yourself. So if you find yourself shoulding, just take a deep breath and say, I did the best I could do with where I was when I did it. It didn't get accomplished today. I'll look into it tomorrow. And again, that seems very easy to say. It's a lot harder to do. All of these things, changing the brain, that's an entire separate whole long months of working on that. Cognitive behavioral therapy, that's rational emotive behavioral therapy. So, but changing that one little thought, even just in the morning, can really change your day. So waking up and consciously saying, I am not a fortune teller, so I am going to assume that today will be marvelous. All right, now laughing. Lastly, laughing. Laughing is very important because it lowers their blood pressure, it reduces stress hormone levels. There's all kinds of things that laughing does. And I forgot to set sound up again, and that's why I re-recorded 3 times, but I'm just going to do it while I'm talking to you. So it works your abs, it improves cardiac health, it boosts your T cells, it triggers a release of endorphins, and it produces a general overall sense of well-being. So I have this short little video for you. And I hope you can hear it. So just a short little video to make you laugh. Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. And I wish you the absolute most wonderful rest of the week / year / months. It's very nice to speak with you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.